All right, let's just get one thing straight. In any complex system, things are gonna break. It's not an if, it's a when. So the real question isn't how to prevent every single failure, it's what do you do after it happens? Today, we are diving into the Site Reliability Engineering, SRE, playbook for taking that absolute chaos of an incident and turning it into a super structured way to learn and get better.
So, picture this. The alerts are screaming, all your dashboards are lit up red, and worse, customers are starting to notice your service is down. It's that heart in your throat moment, right? But having a plan is what separates total panic from a professional, controlled response. So, where do you even start? Okay, so you know something's broken. The very first, and I mean most critical, step is to decide, is this just a little hiccup we can fix, or is this a full-blown incident? And look, this isn't just about picking the right word. Making that call and making it fast changes everything. It dictates the scale of your response and sets the entire tone for what comes next.
So how do you make that call when the pressure is on? Well, the great thing about the SRE approach is that it gives you these clear, objective triggers. It takes the guesswork out of it. If you have to page another team to help you out, it's an incident. If your customers are actually seeing the problem, it's an incident. If you've been fighting this thing for, say, an hour and you're getting nowhere, yep, you declare an incident and you activate the entire playbook.
And once you've made that call, the last thing you want is people running around like headless chickens trying to figure out who's supposed to do what. That is exactly where the SRE Incident Response Playbook comes in. It's this predefined structure that's designed to bring immediate order and clarity right at the moment of maximum chaos. Now, the secret sauce of this playbook is these 4 key roles. This division of labor is just so incredibly smart because it's all about managing brainpower. The incident commander, or IC, they aren't in the weeds typing commands. Nope, they're the general, the strategic leader, coordinating the whole thing. The ops lead is on the ground, directing the hands-on technical battle. The responders? They're your deep experts, the ones actually fixing the problem. And, super importantly, the communication lead handles all the updates, which frees up everyone else to just focus on the fix.
But what if you're on a small team? You might be thinking, there's no way we can fill all 4 of those roles. Well, here's the brilliant part. The incident commander becomes the ultimate safety net. If you don't have a dedicated communications lead, guess who's doing it? The IC. No ops lead? The IC's got it. It's this amazing fail-safe that guarantees no critical job gets dropped, no matter how big or small your team is.
So, once the roles are clear, the team follows a super strict order of operations. And for me, this is just so powerful. Look at number 1. Stop the bleeding. That's it. That's the only thing that matters at first. Restore the service, even if it's a temporary fix, a rollback, whatever it takes. You could figure out why it broke later. The number 1 absolute top priority is to get things working for your customers again. Only then do you start carefully preserving all the evidence for your investigation.
Now, as you start digging in, it is so important to know the difference between a symptom and the actual cause. What your users see, that 500 internal server error, that's just the symptom. The real cause? Oh, that could be anything. A database fell over, an API is failing, a new app deployment crashed. Your best responders are like detectives. They're using their logs, their metrics, all their tools to hunt down that real root cause.
Okay, the fire's out. Service is back online. Phew, everyone can finally breathe again. But in the world of SRE, this is where the most important part of the whole process actually begins. This is the moment you shift from reactive firefighting to proactive, long-term learning, and you do it through a process called the Blameless postmortem.
This quote right here, this is the entire philosophy in a nutshell. The whole point of a postmortem is not to find a person to blame. People are human. We all make mistakes. The goal is to find the cracks in the system, the missing alert, the confusing dashboard, the fragile process, the things that let a small human error turn into a total catastrophe.
So a blameless postmortem is basically this structured investigation where the focus is always on what happened and how can we stop it from happening again. The question, who messed up, it should never even enter the room. And what this does is it creates incredible psychological safety. It makes it safe for people to be totally honest about what really went down. And without that honesty, you can never truly learn from your failures.
So what does one of these actually look like? Well, it's got these key parts. You have a summary, the impact, the root cause, and a super detailed timeline. But the part that turns this whole thing from just a history report into a real tool for change is that last one, action items. These have to be specific, concrete tasks assigned to someone with a deadline that will actually make your system stronger.
And let's be just as clear about what you should leave out. Absolutely no finger pointing, no naming names, and no fuzzy action items like, we should improve monitoring. I mean, what does that even mean? That's a wish, not a task. And finally, every postmortem has to be reviewed and signed off. An unreviewed report is just a story. A reviewed report is a real commitment to get better.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Everything we've talked about so far has been reactive, right? It's about responding to fires. But the real long-term goal of SRE is to stop the fires from starting in the first place. And to do that, you have to declare an all-out war on this thing that SRE is called Toil.
So what is this enemy, Toil? Well, think of it as all the manual, repetitive, tactical junk work that, yeah, it keeps the lights on, but it adds zero lasting value. Like manually restarting a server every morning or clicking through a UI to provision an account. Engineering work, on the other hand, is creative and strategic. It's writing the automation script that restarts that server for you, which gives you long-term value and actually reduces your future workload.
And look, this isn't just some nice-to-have idea. It's a core metric that is managed ruthlessly. At Google, SRE teams have a hard cap. Toil cannot take up more than 50% of their time, period. If it starts creeping over that line, it's a huge red flag. It's a signal to the team that they have to stop what they're doing and literally engineer their way out of that problem. This cap forces a virtuous cycle of constant improvement.
So, how do you actually win this war on toil? Well, you automate everything you possibly can. You build systems that can heal themselves. You start treating your infrastructure not as a bunch of servers to be managed by hand, but as code that can be versioned and deployed automatically. Every single one of these steps buys you back precious time for that high-value engineering work that actually improves reliability. And all of this leads us to the real endgame for SRE, moving beyond just preventing failures to actually building systems that are resilient by their very design. We're talking about systems that expect failure as a normal, everyday event and can handle it gracefully, a lot of times without a human even having to get involved.
You know, a huge part of this is just thinking about capacity in a totally new way. The number one mistake teams make when they move to the cloud is they bring their old data center thinking with them. You know, buying a ton of extra servers, just in case. In the cloud, that's just wasteful. The modern answer is elasticity. You use auto-scaling to get exactly the capacity you need, right when you need it, and not a penny more.
And here are two of my absolute favorite patterns for building this kind of resilience. Graceful degradation is so clever. Instead of your site just showing a big, ugly error page, maybe you serve a slightly reduced experience, like a cached version of the page. Then there's circuit breaking, which is even smarter. If some downstream service is failing, you just temporarily stop sending it traffic. This gives that service time to recover, and more importantly, it prevents a small problem in one area from taking down your entire system.
So as we wrap all this up, this is the final thought I really want to leave you with. Yes, incident response is absolutely essential, but it's fundamentally reactive. The true goal of SRE is to take what you learn from those incidents, to wage war on toil, and to build in these resilient patterns so that you're not just getting better and better at fighting fires, you're actually building a system that's fireproof from the ground up.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe for more Apex Insights.